By who's been on hold the longest, and I believe it's Kevin in Nashville. So, Kevin, welcome. How are you?
Hi, Matt. Thank you for having me on the show. I'm just going to, get right into it. I remember that you had the conversation with the other caller about agnosticism and theism and stuff like that, and how they're, subsets of the same thing. But I consider myself an agnostic theist. I don't claim absolute knowledge of God. But the thing is...
what do you believe about God and why?
Okay. The first thing is I don't believe in the biblical God or anthropomorphic, that have human ranges of feelings and behaviors and stuff like that.
Okay.
This is just a model that I've come up with that, explains what God is and cosmology and how that, worked out.
Kevin, what's the model? What's the model based on? Like, if I'm gonna talk about a God, for example, there's something that makes me think there's a God there in the first place, or that God has these characteristics, or that God doesn't have those characteristics. And if it's just a matter of like personal preference, then basically I'm inventing a God that I'm comfortable with. So what is your model and what's it based on?
Okay, so it's called emanationism. Have you heard of that?
I don't know. I don't know that I've heard of that directly.
No, I don't think I have either.
Okay.
I mean, I can make some guesses based on the word. And
if you invented this yourself, and this is the first time we've spoken, then it's really unlikely we've heard of it. But I did
not. I mean, I've done research into this, and
if I just went from the word, man, this could go so many different ways. But it seems like because I already know that you are not advocating for the God of the Bible, this almost seems like it could delve into like pantheism or panentheism type of thing.
I'm actually not so much interested in what you did to prove your theory or your hypothesis, but rather what you did to disprove it. And the reason why is it would be very, very easy to prove that Santa Claus exists. But what really counts is our attempt to disprove that he exists. That's, also fairly easy to do. But until you actually do it, you need that. So what did you do? What research did you do to disprove your hypothesis of what your idea of God is?
Okay. I was a Christian for a very long time until I started having my doubts about things. And then I started to, research on different articles and things about, the pagan holidays that, Christianity has adopted over the years. And just developed a skepticism and started taking each belief that I had and, holding it up to and playing devil's advocate with my research.
Okay, that almost sounds like I made a list of 10 things, eliminated what I could, and just stuck with what was left.
Yeah, Descartes kind of did the same thing.
Okay.
So again, but that doesn't tell me what you actually did to disprove it.
Or to attempt to disprove it and fail.
Right.
I see. To understand it, I mean, I would need to explain my position on it.
Sure. Let's run through it real quick because we got like 20 minutes left and still 4 more callers to get to.
Right.
Sure. Okay. I'll try to make it quick. My current hypothesis is that this reality that we deem as consensus reality is not is only a small part of a greater universe, and that. Excuse me, I apologize.
That's all right, because I have a big problem already, because premise 1 is I'm going to begin with the assumption that reality is part of something greater.
Okay.
Well, I don't know why you get to begin with that presumption, because that is laying the groundwork for the conclusion you're trying to reach, and I don't know how you would demonstrate that reality is only part of something greater.
Yeah. I'm going to reject your first premise.
Yeah, because right off the bat, your first premise basically said, I could do reality is only a small part of something greater. Therefore, I'm going to call that something greater God.
And I'm not even sure what that phrase means. Reality is part of something greater, given that we can only experience reality. So, I don't even know what I understand what the words are, and I can give you the definitions for them, but put them together, and they don't make any sense to me whatsoever. So what do you mean by reality is part of something greater? Then how would you demonstrate that?
It's a part of a greater reality that
makes less sense.
So adding the word reality after greater only makes it worse.
A part of something is a part of something? I'm not sure how this...
So you're saying there's some great reality, and the reality we experience is only a portion of that greater reality. Now, that could be entirely true in the sense that life on Earth here is a small fragment of potential life in the universe.
Yeah, and I think cosmologists refer to the local presentation of the universe,
right?
And that.
And the multiverse theories and the mini-universe interpretation for the...
Right, and it would, I'm gleaning some things from that multiverse theory.
Yeah, okay, so that's not anything that's been demonstrated. So no conclusion that you reach can ever have more confidence than the premises that you're accepting. And so if you begin with this multiverse as a premise, that's something that is hypothetical, which hasn't been demonstrated to be true. It is a mathematical construct that potentially serves as an explanation for something. It's not that, we figured it out. We live in the multiverse. And so until you get to that point, you shouldn't be able to use that as a premise because your conclusion must necessarily be weaker, or it cannot be stronger, I guess is a better way to phrase it, than your confidence in the premises.
And if you're going to make a conclusion based on what cosmologists are saying, and it's not the same conclusion that they are saying, and these are people who've been studying this for their entire adult lives and based their research on research of other people who have studied it and so on and so forth, then how is your conclusion anywhere near right if you don't have that same level of expertise?
Well, I wouldn't say that, because a conclusion could be right from somebody who has no expertise. It's just, how would you go about demonstrating it?
Well, I would say that you can't be right for the wrong reasons, but that's a whole different topic. I think are we talking at cross purposes?
Well, we might be.
Okay.
Because you can be right for the wrong reasons. Like, you can give me a math problem, and I can write down the correct answer incidentally, even though I might not have actually done the calculation.
Right, and I would disagree, but that's a conversation for another time.
Okay. Because I can train a parrot to where if I say, what's 2 + 2, and they say 4, they're not doing the calculation, but they have given me the right answer.
You could be right accidentally, but anyway.
Okay. Now we're off on a sidetrack. So, Kevin, are you basically getting to, I think it's likely there's a multiverse, and that makes us part of something greater, and I'm going to call this something greater God?
Yes, to a certain degree.
I'm not remotely interested in that, because you're beginning with something that is speculative and concluding something that is essentially massaging labels, the type of God that you're advocating for. So, like, there are people who say, this is why I said particularly pantheism and panentheism, people who would say, the universe is God. Okay, well, no, the universe is the universe. What extra thing is there about the universe that justifies also calling it God?
Right. And then how are you making that conclusion? Is there a cosmologist who's come to that same conclusion? And are you talking about multiverse theory from the cosmologist point of view or from the mathematical point of view?
Yeah, I'm going to save us all kinds of time. And if this kind of burns you, Kevin, I apologize. But probably the best thing to do is to write out your argument, send it into the TV at atheist-community.org email list. And if I find something else wrong with it other than the problems that Jim and I have already had mentioned, I can do that. But I'm not really all that interested in someone calling in to say, hey, based on this speculative thing that some physicists have come up with, I can make a case for this, which means I can make a case for that, and that means I get to call that God, because that's not it's nothing that we would have to deal with anyway.
At least start with the conclusion that the physicists are coming up with, and don't come up with your own based on the data.
Cool.
Sure, I'll definitely send you all that link.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.